Welcome, everyone. Tonight, we're going to talk about updating the masculinity culture. I just felt like I didn't want to say, fighting against the toxic masculinity culture, whatever. I just want to say update because some of it is good and some of it is not good. Okay. It's just like everything else we do in our energy balancing with faith practice. We want to balance the energy. We want to revisit and be intentional about what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing, right? And then seeing where we maybe fall short and how we can improve ourselves and encourage others to improve also. So without further ado, I'm going to start this presentation. All right, so today the objective, well, these are the objectives, there's several, is to clarify our perspectives on men and boys to support happy, healthy families. Sometimes we just react and we continue on what culture and society tells us without questioning, right? So we need to just question a little bit here. We want to protect the family unit. And some things we do is actually, not protecting it. It's pulling it apart. So we want to do that by avoiding and resolving family issues. We want to, in the end, bring peace to society. Okay. We want to update our culture and traditions. We want to allow men and women to fully heal themselves. And this is going to be the beginning of that, and fully get out of the destructive cycle. We want to learn how to feel and then unpack our thinking and our feelings and our beliefs. Okay. I think I have one more here, and encourage true equality and oneness. Sometimes people talk about equality and they have their idea, but this is more of a true equality that we're going to talk about tonight. All right. Are you guys excited? All right, so let's start with some stats here. In 2021, every 13 seconds, there's a divorce in America. 13 seconds. That means 277 divorces per hour, 6,000 per day, 46,000 per week, and 2 million per year. Wow, that to me is not about women and men. My husband, he's a lawyer, and he tells me, you are never, ever divorced. If you have children, you are never really divorced, right? And, we continue to feel the pains of it. So we want to, do our best to protect the family and to get it right, okay? We want to teach our children that too. And the divorce rate per 1,000 married women is nearly double that of 1960, okay? But it's down from the all-time high of 22.6 from the 1980s. All right, so 50% of all marriages in America now end in divorce or separation. That's really sad. So with my children and their friends at school, we've had kids over our house to sleep over and stuff, and they wake up and we have breakfast together, and it's kind of normal for our kids. And we've had kids tell us, like, can you adopt us? Or we're just like, what? It's because they don't have good family life, and I feel like sometimes it's not something that they're being taught, and they lack some skills, and if they had those skills, maybe it wouldn't be so bad, right? So researchers estimate that 41% of all first marriages end in divorce, 60% of second marriages, 73% of third marriages. So it doesn't get better necessarily. Some people are lucky, blessed, and but in general, sometimes it gets worse. And then 554 divorces occur during typical romance comedy movie. That's an interesting stat. So here they are watching The Ideal on TV, and they get into some sort of fight, and they decide each other, it's not enough, they're not meeting ideals, and then that's it, they separate. So interesting. 15% of adult women in the US are divorced or separated today, compared to less than 1% in 1920, right? And the average first marriage that ends in divorce lasts about 8 years in total. All right, so there's work to be done, right? Yeah. So that's from the GillespieShields.com. All right, any thoughts, any comments? All right, so just put that in your mind, and here's some more stats, men and boys. Okay, I should say boys there. Men die earlier in 2000. The life expectancy was 74 years old, and women are 80 years old. And here we are, men are 3 times as likely as women to die of injuries and unintentional injuries, suicide, and homicide. Okay, so there's more men that commit suicide, basically, okay, and have more injuries. Okay, women over the age of 60 in 1980 could expect to live about 30% longer than men their age. Okay, so, and you know, more men are plumbers and heaters and ventilating engineers, construction builders, waste disposal, environmental services. So they're garbage men. Okay, so men, they do more of these jobs. So it's just interesting to know, right? Because sometimes women, we, maybe not this community, but in general, they complain that there's no equality, there should be more women in balance, everything's 50-50. But who wants to do garbage? Who wants to go out and build buildings all the time? Yeah. So there are, you know, if we want this equality, we need to kind of think bigger and more fair. Okay. And guess what? You know, more men are in the military, right? And more men die, right, in war, right? So I just want to keep that in mind as we talk about other things. Alrighty. So here's the culture of the male ideal. Okay, we see this in Hollywood and movies and Disney videos, and then it's banked away in the back of our minds. All right, so these men, chivalry, you know, you be the hero, you jump in front and you save the world. Heroes, protectors, providers, you know, they're decisive, they know what they want and they go get it. They're leaders, they're strong, supporters, they're bold and daring, socially charming, always positive, never fearful or doubtful, never make mistakes. Okay, so we kind of encourage this subconsciously or subliminally, but that's not human, right? Sometimes we can't, and when we can't, and when we keep failing to be all this, what is next? Okay, we have some disappointments, right? And then we relabel these guys because we're like, well, I guess he's not my knight in shining armor, right? He's not supportive, he's not providing well. So I know that when I was younger, this is what was my ideal. You know, we don't know better, right? It's not, we're not here today to say, hang on, I'm so guilty, I'm messed up. We just want to say, let's question ourselves a little bit. Like, is it really fair to expect the men to always be, you know, amazing and, you know, decisive and all that? They can try to be, and that's wonderful, that's great. But let's not hold them to this all the time, okay? Because it's not fair. All right. And when society, when we have guys that are not like this is what happens. We have this disappointed reality. We see them as the Homer Simpsons. Yeah. And we think that's funny and ha ha, you know, our men can't wash their dishes, they can't take care of themselves, ha ha. They can't cook dinner, they can't take care of babies, ha ha. You know, it on the outside it may be funny, but on the inside it's degrading to them. Okay, it's because we see them now as unintelligent, unreliable, unskilled, under average, and this perpetrator, you know, it's perpetration, I meant perpetrator. So they're kind of bad and naughty. And then, you know, sometimes because they're like Homer Simpson, it's like, you're a big baby. right? So all these labels, and you know, in our subconscious, we might think that they're selfish, gluttonous, egotistic, they're villains. Like, they don't know how to be nice. They're just mean, right? Insensitive, uncaring, clueless, right, etc. Can you guys see that in society? So they're not our superheroes and our knight in shining armor, then they're labeled as this kind of a disappointed reality of a man. What do you guys think? Right? But it doesn't have to be either or, right? We don't have these amazing hottie patrotty women out there, and if you're not hottie patrotty and amazing, then you're like boo boo boo. We don't let that happen, right? But we let this happen in our minds for the men, unfortunately. So I'm just going to advocate for the guys tonight a little bit here, right? So just keep that in mind. How does your heart feel now?
I actually never liked The Simpsons, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I remember someone saying something about how they were portraying the family, and especially the husband, as someone kind of dumb and goofy or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then you start to see it in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of other shows, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
so sad.
Yep.
So sad.
Yeah. I guess we get a little bit of a laugh sometimes, but you know what happens is it starts to perpetuate this low standard for men and boys, right? I've had women do sessions with me, and you know, they've had husbands that cheat on them, or their husbands are this way and that way and meanies and stuff, and then they're like racking their brain, I don't know why he's just this way, you know, guys are like this. And I've had women just, they sing this song over and over again. And one lady, she's like, I gotta fix my son, Jay, just tell me what to do. He's this way, this way, this way, he's lazy, blah blah blah, and he's just turning out just to be like my ex. And I said to her, whoa, you know, what is your idea of men? What's the reality? What do you think men are like? You know, and then she tells me men are da 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 da. And I said, okay, do you say those things? Do you sing that song at home? Do your kids hear you say that about your ex and men in general? And she's like, yeah, you know, she thinks that's the reality. And I said, well, if you've already decided against them, no matter what they do, they can't change your mind. So if I were the boys, I would give up on trying to please you, right? Because it's too hard. You have not chosen to be happy and pleased with them. You've already decided to be disappointed, right? And I say, no wonder why your son doesn't care now. You know, once upon a time, he was this happy, funny kid, but over the years, it's sunk in, and he believes this now about himself, right? And as much as you push, it's not going to change, because nothing he does will ever please you, right? And so I invited her to change herself. And there's other women too. And, you know, when we have a knight in shining armor, we kind of have a view of ourselves too, that we're the damsel in distress. You know, we have to have these ideal looks and stuff. And then it's just surface. We could become materialistic and shallow. Okay. And so we're creating a relationship based on a lot of shallow things, and it's not going to last. Of course, it's not going to last. All right. So we're going to chuck out, just throw out these things, cancel. We're going to do it differently. Our community is going to do it differently, and we're going to encourage other people to do it differently and to rethink these things. All right. This is the destructive cycle of this culture. Okay. So people call it toxic masculinity. I don't know. I don't care. So we start with, I am in love. swoop me off my feet, yay. And then reality sets in a little bit. The woman has never been taught to know herself, to love herself well. See where this is going to go, right? So she's not owning her power fully. She's not taking 100% responsibility for her choices. Okay, I'm just focusing on the women's side here first, okay? And then she is unable to articulate what she wants. Babes, where do you want to eat? Oh, anywhere, I don't care, whatever you want, all right? What do you like? Oh, I like everything. I'm so easygoing. Ooh, okay. Don't allow herself to receive and have what she wants. And it perpetuates this damsel culture. Like, no, don't worry about me. No. Okay, so it perpetuates this culture because this guy's like, I don't know what she wants. Okay, and then, she holds him responsible for pleasing her, reading her mind, really, So what about this? What about this? Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, it's good. But really, has she decided? Okay, so eventually he can't really satisfy her when she hasn't chosen to be satisfied. All right. So he eventually can't satisfy all her needs. So she feels hurt and blames him and complains that, he's not being nice, kind, he's not being thoughtful. Then she starts to villainize him because he's not the hero and the shining knight that she had hoped he was. And then he becomes that Homer Simpson, right? So he feels hurt that she's frustrated with him, right? And doesn't feel safe to express himself anymore. So he shuts off his feelings, okay? Because of her manipulation. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I'm so mad at you. That's manipulation. And because of these society's false ideas about males, you see, right? And so he's hurt, she's hurt, all right? And then we start to argue, we start to blame. And so this hero and damsel cycle, there's kinks in it, right? Some days she wants to be strong, she wants to have her way, but because she's already the damsel, right? She can't, it's conflict within herself. And then he wants to be the hero, but she says he's not a hero. And so he's conflicted as well. So it's like, what do I do? And sometimes these people are really good at their roles. So they can keep going, damsel, hero, damsel, hero. But guys, we're not creating here. We're not creating together as equals. Okay, so we're still let drama happen and so let the hero fix the drama. All right, so the damsel hero role, he eventually fails, okay? And then he tries to fight the label as long as he can, that I'm good, I'm reliable, but eventually he adopts that villain role society has insisted, okay, is the true role for males. And the woman starts to collect evidence to support her victim mentality. There, you were mean here, there, you said that about me, there, you forgot my birthday, there. Here's all the evidence why, you kind of suck, right? And so it validates this toxic masculinity culture. All right. And mind you, the boys are watching. The boys are watching. All right. So why would the sons want to pick up clothes, do their laundry, wash their dishes, and help out around the house when the mum's always putting the dad down and the dad's always trying to fight the mum and just back and forth, okay? And look, we don't know that we're doing this sometimes. We don't know because this is how culture behaves, right? The tradition. And both continue to manipulate each other through anger and immature behavior, right? You've seen that, haven't you? All right, so now we have disconnections, or he's not meeting me eye to eye, I'm not meeting him eye to eye, we're like not seeing each other, and there's dramas, and the relationship kind of starts to fail, and then, dramas in the family continues to escalate. So what happens? Here's the results. Both feel unsatisfied with each other. They both want to change each other. If that guy, he does this and this, then things will be better. Oh my gosh. But then he thinks if she's like this, then it will be better. And so both seek for satisfaction and resolution in other destructive ways. So maybe, he overeats, or, she overeats, or they go to do some addictions, or even infidelity and divorce, and then remarry. Let's try again with the next person. But if you're there remaining in that, I don't know who I am, I don't love myself, I need people to love me, meeting my fundamental human needs, guess what? You're going to create another guy just like this, right? And that's why those stats are the way they are. Second marriage, third marriage, it fails and fails, right? So we want to get out of this cycle. Can you see that cycle, guys, in people? You do sessions with people or, family members, friends. Any thoughts and comments?
I see all of this in my early marriage
Mm.
and for a lot of my marriage, but we've made some strides and changed a lot of things, but it's like hitting you right in the face.
Yeah, well, that's culture, isn't it? It just teaches you that, and this culture is just so damaging. And then this is the natural reaction. And you're like, whoa, wah. Why did I do that? It's just the natural human response because we started over here, not fulfilling our own needs first. So there's hope. There's hope, you guys. So in energy balancing with faith, we teach people to feel their feelings and be instructed by their feelings. Okay. You don't feel it to suffer, you feel it to be instructed. So our feelings, drive actions, and our actions create results. All right. So if we don't like the results, so we see the destructive behaviors in our relationships, we see our sons, not, up to par, really, right? Then we say, whoa, what's happening here? What am I really feeling? And then go into the subconscious and just question your thoughts. What am I thinking? What am I believing? Right? And then changing the thoughts and beliefs. That's where your power lies. That's where your agency is, really. Okay. We can change how we feel a little bit, temporarily change the actions, but in the end, it's not going to permanently change. So we're going to invite everyone to feel your feelings, feel the feelings, just experience it, ask questions, and learn to express it and articulate the feelings. And that's why in energy balancing with faith, we have a list of feelings that we say, well, okay, this is actually the feeling that I'm feeling now. Okay, betrayed or whatever. Then when we express it, it's sort of like your subconscious going and finding the source of it, okay, or the vibration, and then we're able to address it when we find it. And then we discover these false beliefs and false thoughts that's creating it, right? And then we can get rid of it once we find it. We will resolve it with God, with what we know that God has taught us, right? God teaches, that we're loved, we're important. So we can't be, sitting here thinking, I'm not important, I'm not loved. My husband doesn't love me, he can't provide for me, blah, 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 right? So we resolve it with God. And we fulfill our fundamental human needs with God first, because God has instructed us to love him first, right? Tap into his reservoir of love and light. And then when we are filled with love and light, we love ourselves, yeehaw, right? And then we turn around and we're like, I can love everyone now. I can love my boys, right? And then we can start healing from the past patterns too. And say, whoopsie, that wasn't good there. Apparently I can do better. So let's do better, all right? So any questions or comments about this? So knowing this truth, like, liberates, all right? So here we are. We're going to adopt a constructive cycle. So a new cycle where we just keep spiraling upwards now. We're not going to spiral downwards anymore, okay? So here we are. We're going to be still first. Be still and kind of focus on healing within. Okay, so the woman, she now knows herself better. Okay, I know what I like, I know what I don't like, I know my interests, my strengths and my weaknesses, and she loves herself unconditionally because she asks Heavenly Father, who am I? And God says, you're a beloved daughter of God. And she's like, aha, that's me, right? And then she allows herself to be filled with this love. The hole in our heart, okay, it cannot be filled in any other way. No human being, even as popular as like celebrities or whatever are, no human beings can fill that void sufficiently. It needs to be from God. And you know when you're sufficient because your cup overfloweth and you want to give that love to other people, right? And you're feeling safe to own your agency, your power fully, okay? And you are responsible for your choices. So you can say, whoops, that's my bad. That's actually my stuff, okay? I take full responsibility for that one. Oh, right. And you have that courage instead of blaming, okay? So you have the ability to articulate what you want now. Okay, I actually want this kind of relationship. I actually want us to be able to do this and this and this. Okay, no longer do we need to rely on the hero, the knight in shining armor, to know exactly what is right. Okay, because we already know. We check in with God, we know. Right? And I know that, you know, people who've had abuses in their lives, especially abused by their fathers or whatever, they haven't learned to speak up. They haven't learned to articulate. They haven't learned to allow themselves to want. But we have the power now to change all that, even if we've experienced that in the past. So allow yourself to receive, you know, and stop the damsel culture. You don't need to be the damsel to feel love. And, you know, people who are in that damsel, it's not just for their husbands. They do it to their friends. They're needy of their friends. Oh, you're my friend, so, you know, can I have a discount on your course, on your books, on whatever? Can I have this extra special treatment? You know, you want this hero to bend over backwards. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie, The Knight's, what is it? Heath Ledger, The Knight's Tale. And that chickadee, she's like, if you love me, what is it? Fail or lose.
Yeah.
The guys.
Yeah, you will not win these
yes,
like
you will
jousting
not
tournaments.
win.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
sort of like, are you crazy? You know, why do you want to put this poor man through this just to prove that he loves you? Right? Love yourself. Right. So I looked at it, I'm like, I don't see anything great about that. So here we go. This lady, she's empowered. All right. Now, because she's empowered, everyone's responsible for their own happiness without blaming and complaining and finding fault. So imagine if you were the guy and the wife is like, well, honey, you like, you know, you need to do this better. But eventually you poke at them enough, they're deflating, you know, they're deflated. You haven't, you know, supported and loved. But if nobody is fault finding and no one's complaining about each other, how constructive is this relationship? Right? We learn how to satisfy each other through communication and civility. So I was talking to my girls and, you know, we're like, who am I? You know, I'm a civil person. So what does that mean? Even if there's an uncivil person and they swear and then they behave poorly, we don't need to behave poorly. All right. So here, clear expectations and intentional culture. Right. This is what I'm hoping and expecting for our family. You know, and then communicate with each other. What's your expectation? What is your ideal for a wife? You know, this is my ideal for a husband and a wife, right? And so, you know, be intentional about it and communicate. And you know what? When you do, then a lot of that stuff happens, right? Honey, I'd like, you know, everyone to be responsible for cleaning the house, helping out, you know, doing laundry and stuff. Yeah, everyone doing dishes and dinners and stuff. So everybody is equally yoked. Got it, babes. Let's do that. You know, if we don't, then we're like, well, I told him I wanted to help. I told him he's not helping. I've had a friend, I'm like, girlfriend, what kind of help do you want? Do you want the dishes to be clean all the time? She's like, no, I just want him to help once in a while. I said, well, then tell him once in a while. And what does once in a while look like? And she's like, oh, okay. I said, okay, first of all, have a meeting with yourself. Decide what you want, right? Because otherwise it's confusing and nobody wants to try because they don't know if they're hitting it right. Because you have a definition of right yet. Okay, so if you're clear, most of the time they want to please you. They want you to be happy. So it's not much easier to tell them what you want. Okay, but then if I tell him what I want, then it's not like a surprise. It's not because he wants it. I'm like, it doesn't matter. This is communication, right? If he knows that if he does this and for sure, you're going to be happy, then guess what? He's going to do it. And the chances are you're going to be happy and he's going to win, right? It's not this failing, thing. He's trying and trying and trying. And sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're not. It's like, whoa, right? Who wants to try after so many failures, right? Okay, so let's decide to have unconditional love, encouragement, compliments to inspire true change, right? So my husband, I was telling him, I think that, when he was in grad school, I said, I think you need to do more workout, babes. You've got so much energy, you want to maintain that energy. And he's like, yeah, sure. And he took it up, but it's not like, you're so lazy, you're so tired, you never have time for us, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't help, right? Honey, if you do this, you have more energy for law school. And it's like, yeah, you're right, okay, let's try this. Okay. Well, since, when does somebody's criticism, motivate you to be happy? It doesn't work for you, it won't work for him, right? If you feel an encouragement, a little nudge from a friend, you can do this, try this, you can do that. That inspires you to movement, to action, so much more. All right, so let's just clear away the need to fault find, complain, blame, okay? And then just find the power in encouragement and unconditional love. I know this works. I've taught very naughty boys before when I was a school teacher, and I got them eating out of my hands within a couple of months, right? Because of love and encouragement. It works every time, okay? So when you're responsible for you, it encourages him to be responsible for him, okay? And so each person makes peace with their own humanity. They say, well, I'm really good at this, but I'm no good at this. I'm trying to fix this, but this is kind of my weakness. And that's okay. It's okay, right? When you're hard and mad at yourself for stuff, then you're teaching them to be hard and mad at you for your weaknesses too. But when you make peace with your humanity, people are more forgiving of your humanity. Yeah. Okay, so find out who you are, what your tendencies are, and make peace with it. Okay. And then start choosing to collect evidence to support, this good union. Okay. You want to support yourself by saying, we are working collaboratively. We work well as a team. We're interdependent. When I'm not able to cook dinner, he does. When I'm not able to, do these things, he does, right? He's always doing this and I'm always doing this, and we get the job done. Find the evidence and keep listing it out. It doesn't support you and it doesn't help you if you look for evidence for the opposite. Sometimes people, they keep on collecting evidence on both sides and stuff. Where are you going with this? Where are you going? You're going to keep on being, in the middle, right? Let the other side shrink, because as you kind of focus more on this, that grows. That grows. You're amazing, honey. You're great. I love how you love. I love how you care. That will continue to grow, and all the negatives, it starts to shrink in reality. All right. We don't need to be sensible and collect evidence from both and look at how this is. It's just balance. It's just, I personally feel like it doesn't work. Okay. So then these two have more mature behaviors, as in, if we have an issue, if something comes up, we look at it as objective as we can and resolve it as much as we can. Okay. Instead of blaming and complaining and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So then there's unity in relationships and family. Right? People pitch in, we do stuff together. There's this strong bond. Sometimes we don't allow that strong bond because we don't believe that can happen. You can ask yourself, do I believe that we can have a strong unity, strong bond, strong oneness? Is that even possible? Okay, if we do, then we can start creating it. Okay, so visualize, okay, that you're satisfied with each other, all right? Because if you are on your, working on you and he's working on him, right? You know what satisfies you and he will know what satisfies him, right? And then we have the results of we love and accept each other unconditionally for who we are today, right now, okay? And we see that we're dynamic creatures, and so we see that we're going to improve even more every time. And then both seek to change themselves daily through divine connections and not seek to change their, spouse. If ever you think to yourself, if my husband does this, then this will be great, then that's you trying to change him. Just trust that he'll figure it out. Okay, you change you. And as you accept and love him, watch, it's easy to do it with kids too. Right, as you love and accept them, who they are today, it's so easy for them to change to become what you feel like would help them the most as well. You have great influence with your love. And both seek satisfaction in unity and oneness. So the joy in oneness is so great that we continue to want that more and more. Okay, and we continue to strengthen that unity. So now instead of destructive and spiraling down, we're spiraling up, right? So the solution has been given to us already, and that's in the scriptures where God says, love yourself, like love others like you love yourself. It's okay, love God first. So he can tell you more about you, okay? So that's the constructive cycle that we can now adopt. Okay, any questions? Any comments? All right, I'll move forward. So sometimes we think we want to be equal. Let's focus on more of understanding. Okay, so remember that God made us all different. Men are structurally different. Women are different. Okay, men are generally bigger and stronger, and even their brain and their bone structure is all different. Like my daughter, she's studying, about the body, and she's like, give me a skull and I can tell you if it's a male skull or a female skull, and she shows me all the differences. And I'm like, that's so interesting. So the brain functions are different as well. I had a friend tell me about how, you give a man a question and then, he thinks, his brain activity goes from the back all the way to the front. Right. And then with a woman, she starts in the middle and then it kind of goes outward. Sometimes in general, we're just generalizing here, that men can think more linear and then women think more web. Right. It's not bad. Okay. We complement each other. Okay. So let's focus on complementing and creating together. So we balance each other out. We kind of help each other, complement each other instead of competing. I don't like anything that's like men against women. So what if one gender is better than the other? No one's going to be a winner. No one's going to be happier. Okay. So let's learn how to balance and respect each other. And you do that by respecting yourself first. So when you respect yourself, you have to say, how do I want to be talked to? How do I want to be treated? Right? And how do I treat me? Do I beat myself up every time I do something wrong? Do I, get mad at myself and punish myself? Because if you do that, then, subconsciously you're teaching everyone else to do that too. Right? If you're like, oh man, I failed, or I'm worried and I'm not sure of myself, right? And you're doubtful, well, don't be surprised if other people are doubtful, okay? Because you're not sure of you, okay? So, here, just even like careers, there's a lot more women who choose to be nurses and a lot more men who chooses to be mechanics and electricians and stuff. So you can't say, well, that's not fair. We should be 50-50. But in general, women like this more. And in general, men like that more. And we don't have to force it. Nature like that. Okay. Questions, comments? Okay. So look at this picture here. Focus on this. Focus on spiraling upwards with each other. We don't want to do a cycle of you know, the damsel and hero, and just spinning our wheels and staying in one place. Okay, we want to spiral upwards. All right. So in energy balancing with faith community, some of the ladies, when they discover who they are and they're happy and they've got opinions, what happens is their husband's like, I don't know you, you've changed. And so they have to adjust. And then, you know, a few times I've had men say to their wives, you don't need me anymore. Like, this is weird and uncomfortable. Like, what's my role now? And the answer is, let's create together. So I don't need you to be the hero anymore. Yeah. We want to create stuff together. For me, I'm like, let's build the kingdom of God together. Right.
I think on that particular thing, I've told all three of my children, girls and boys, that they really need to find themselves and create themselves before they are ready to add a partner in, because the partner isn't what makes you. It should like add to you, and it shouldn't create your purpose. You should already have your own purpose, and then and they just want to share in that life.
Yeah. And just believe that there's somebody out there that can create with you. Yeah, that's good. All right. So here's some introspective questions. We don't have to necessarily answer as a group, but it's something for you to think about. Okay. And then ask yourself, and then maybe we're questioning society here. So at what point is it not okay for a boy to cry anymore? Okay. Use a lot of geranium for your sons, you know, because you're cuddling him and hugging him, and now there's a point where they don't feel right to cry. They don't feel free to cry. My husband told me this several times. He says, it's not me necessarily, but it's just sort of like, I don't feel comfortable crying. You know, I'm like, why not? Like, let's cry away and talk about feelings. And it's like, oh, that's just weird. That's just uncomfortable. And I just feel like, wow, that culture is just stopping them from feeling. And at what point, this cute little kid, you know, like at what point was he like 5? Is he 8? When he stopped letting himself feel? And then girls are allowed to cry all the days of their lives. Right. And I'm like, that's not quite fair, is it? How about this? When do we stop kissing and cuddling our sons? Never. Because they don't want to be sissy pants, whatever. They're like, no, mom, don't hug me anymore. Dad, no, you know, but they want that. And guess what? When they don't get proper touch, appropriate touch, what do they need? They go after inappropriate touch, right? So if they're, you know, fully loved and touched, you know, like our girls, they get hugs from their dads and they come and cuddle me, you know. We hug and hug and hug. They don't need to seek out a boyfriend to touch them and hug them and stuff, you know, and same with boys. Okay. So do it, keep doing that, right? My friend, the first thing she does when her son comes home from whatever, from college, from whatever, she does an aroma touch massage on him, you know, and I'm like, that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. It's just her way of just loving and touching him. All right. So why do men have to do all the proposing and the initiating? Does he have to do all those, you know, grand plans of romantic? Can women do the proposing and initiating too? Yeah, but it's like, but it's so weird. It's not culture. Yeah, but is that culture healthy? Because, you know, if you haven't decided what you want and he says, well, let's go here, and you go and you're like, well, I don't like it. You know, he's messed up. And then again and again and again, it's like, I want to choose because every time I choose, you don't like it. Right. And it's like, okay, never win. You can never win. So, you know what I mean? Can we both choose? Can we both initiate? Take turns, maybe? Right. What's the value in chivalry and toughness? maybe in the olden times, hunters and gatherers and stuff, and if he's protecting his family, it shows he loves his family and he's tough and he's, there, and they will survive, the species will survive. But we can't give it like too much weight, So I was telling my kids, I'm like, 15, 16, sometimes a girl wants to go out with a guy and, just kind of lean on the guy and everything. I'm like, he's another 15-year-old guy. He doesn't know who he is and what he wants. Like you don't know who you are or what you want yet. So why do we hold them so responsible for being tough when he's still figuring stuff out? That's not fair. Okay. What about boy colors and girl colors? Who made that up? And so, if a guy kind of likes this pinkish and red, then he's thinking, well, I must be homosexual, and I've had stories where the guy thinks he's homosexual or whatever, but he turns out not. It's just because he likes these girly colors and girly sports and girly whatever. And so he's all confused now. But because society has just labeled these things as boy colors and girl sports and boy sports and girl jobs and boy jobs. So we just need to be careful. Okay, just kind of question ourselves, what is your interest, what is your likes, and you're okay with it, and not let other people's opinion be your opinion. If you check in with God, this is what I tell my kids, if you check in with God and God says yes, it's fine, then accept it and do it. And if other people have an opinion about it, that's none of your business. Got it? Okay, how about this? How can we show more gratitude and support to the men and boys in our lives? Like, do we thank them enough? For their hard work, for trying to provide for the family. And if they can't provide more, is it okay? Can we still be thankful for what they have done and can do? Sometimes maybe we feel entitled, right? So if we show them gratitude, we teach them gratitude. And then in return, they say thank you to everything we do, right? And I love it. Nearly every other day, I hear my husband say, thank you, you're the best, so grateful for you, right? And then I try to do the same. The kids do the same. Right? So how can we help our sons see their value and their divine nature more? Okay, we can find examples of wonderful leaders in the world. Jesus Christ is a great example of great men. Okay. What my husband's mum, she doesn't think she does a good job, but I think she did a brilliant job with her kids. And I remember her singing songs and telling my husband, your name is Benjamin. You're named after the King Benjamin. You are a king and a leader, and she says stuff like that. And I'm like, that's brilliant. Telling her kid that, right? Help him visualize what he can be. So if you haven't done this already, let's do it. Doesn't matter how old your children are, let them know that they have this amazing divine nature, right? That they have great value, they have a place in the world, and the world needs them, right? And as a whole, can us women forgive the past? Suppression of women, women's suffrage and stuff, can we let that go? I had to do sessions with myself, and sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why do I feel this about men and my husband in general? Like, they're bullies and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't see it in my home, but I feel it. And I'm like, this is not mine. And I figured that it was generational. So I kind of had to release and let go for generations of women who feel suppressed, right? So let's focus on us and healing ourselves there. Right. And then why do boys over 18 need to be out of the house and immediately self-sufficient? But it's not always required of girls. Many friends that are like this. It's just culture. And sometimes, let's just question culture for a minute. What if your son is ready when he's 19? Well, no, maybe he's ready when he's 20. You know, is that okay? Right? Because being self-sufficient isn't the most important thing in the eternal perspective. Being loved, being confident in his divine nature is most important. So if he's not quite learned it yet, give him a little bit of time, right? Give your daughters time as well with the same things. Okay. You know, my little brother, I guess my sister and I, we talk a lot, and then he doesn't get a word in edgewise sometimes, and he's quiet, and you know, he loves working with his hands and all that. So he's good at school, but you know, it's not interesting to him. Anyways, he didn't feel like he was good enough, and then when he graduated, he kind of hid in his room, got a job, and then just came home and hid. And my parents were brilliant. They loved on him and invited him out, loved on him, you know, asked him to help out with projects and whatever. And then my brother discovered his passion. My dad loves, you know, doing stuff with his hands too. He likes building houses. He likes, you know, tiling. He likes, you know, making kitchens. So my brother starts doing this, and he's like, watch me, Dad, look at this, look at this. And then he became a builder. Eventually he went to school and he studied what he was good at. And he was very good at that. And he was even paid to study. But it took him a while. It took him into his, you know, early 20s to figure all of that out. But now he's brilliant. He owns so many properties, and he's just, you know, fulfilled. But my parents loved him all the way through that, right? They just guided him through his struggles, because we you know, sometimes he just hasn't explored who he is yet. So I felt like that was a great example. Can we love our men and boys for who they are right now? Ask yourself that question. Can we fully love and accept them unconditionally now? For all their faults, all their weaknesses, not being the knight in shining armor that we think they should have been, you know, we just love them and accept them for who they are now. And if we can, it liberates them. It liberates him. It sets him free. My friend, she did that. You know, she complained about her son, and then eventually we talked about just setting him free, letting him be, but knowing that, you know, telling him how special and wonderful he is. And then he decided to go back to school. You know, he was ready to quit school and not graduate, but he went back, and he did it all on his own, and he worked hard, you know. So if nothing he does matters, then he doesn't need to do anything. But now that he's loved and accepted for who he is, you know, being imperfect and all, right? That kind of changed him. It was, you know, simply the unconditional love that she gave him, without all of these attachments. Okay, oh, you have to be Eagle Scout. Oh, you have to this. Oh, you have to do well in school. None of that. It was brilliant. All right. So let's design our new reality of who we want, you know, our guys to be. All right. Can we envision a divine man with great potential? Like before he came to earth, he had a role to play. Can we see his brilliance? You know, we can decide that both men and women can develop a closeness with God, and that means he can. And then he can access the infinite source of truth and love and wisdom. And he can have all his answers from God. So encourage him to do that. We can praise and encourage and have confidence in him. We can imagine his potential and his successes. Sometimes we just imagine ourselves failing and then imagine other people failing. It's not helpful to anybody, right? So just pretend and see where that goes, because that will produce more results than you worrying about people messing up. Yeah, I had a guy who wanted to do a paper route, and his mom's like, oh, you're gonna forget, so I'll have to do it, you know, so don't even bother. So he's already failed in her mind before he even tried. And that's really sad. And she did that for a few other things that he wanted to do. Okay, so let's change that up. Okay, so can we envision a man who is free and safe to feel and express his feelings? Right? So what if he cries? What if he's frustrated? What if he's angry? You know, what's your response? How are you going to respond? Are you going to say, go ahead, feel away? You know, where do you feel the feelings? Why do you think you feel that way? Feel and cry and complain and throw a hissy fit. Right? Let's explore it. And once we feel it all away, it instructs us, you know, to what we're thinking and believing. Okay. So do we allow, you can muscle test this too, we can allow our men to be fearful, doubtful, weak, stressed, anxious, unsure at times? Because that we have that freedom to be that way. Okay. So the more he's allowed to do that, the faster he passes through that weaknesses and becomes strong. He passes through the anxiousness and becomes strong. Okay. And then is he allowed and safe to make mistakes? Okay. Because it's not about the results sometimes, it's just about trying. Okay, so any other things you guys think we should add to this list when we create this reality? So not a knight in shining armor and not the Homer Simpson.
Yeah. He is allowed to misunderstand us.
Yes, yes, yeah. Because sometimes we don't understand ourselves just yet. Yeah. And then when we're sure and more clear, we can articulate it. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Okay, so let's design in our minds what equal partners in life, in creation looks like. Right. So with go ahead.
I have one to add.
Yeah.
So I remember when my husband and I first got married, he didn't feel like he was allowed to be frustrated at me. Like I could be frustrated, but he didn't feel allowed to show his frustration. So I think maybe being allowed to show frustration when
yeah. So that fear, doubt, weakness, etc., you know, frustration. Yeah. It's trying to figure you out. Let him, like, kind of, you might misunderstand at first. Yeah. So with my husband, you know, he went to grad school, law school. So I supported him through that. And then when it was my turn to build my brand, you know, he sacrificed and supported me through that. And at first it was so uncomfortable, but he reminded me that's what equal partners do. Right. And I had to allow it. Yeah. And my mom, she always, you know, is tickled by the fact that my husband does most of the laundry. And, you know, half the dishes he's done, you know, throughout our lives together. And she's like, oh, wow, he's just so good, isn't he? He's so good. And I'm like, Mom, why should we be surprised? Why should we be like, oh my gosh, guys can't do that, you know? And just say, you know, of course, you know, I can do dishes, he can do dishes. I can do laundry, he can do laundry. The reason why he did laundry is because it's heavy and he you know, wants to carry it to the laundry room. And so if he's there, just throw it in and, you know, it's not hard. So anyways, just questioning our reality here a little bit and then designing what we want, the ideal. Okay. Yeah, there's times that we go separately and to pray in our areas in our home and come back and then kind of say, this is what I got. What did you get? So yeah, we just have to design this in our life. Okay. So, you know, sometimes we want something, but we haven't like put it into action. We haven't broken it down to how we can train our children, right? So I'm just going to give you a few ideas here that I came up with. So when you love, it's a doing word, okay? Sometimes we are taught these things in church or whatnot, and it's kind of abstract, and they don't see the application. Yeah, my friend, she has sons, and she's like, Jade, they're so lazy, I don't know what to do. But these kids, at church, they've got all the church answers right, but there's a disconnect somewhere, right? So at home, they just don't help out, and they're just, don't want to listen to her. And she's like, I don't get this. What's happening? So maybe it's just the application here that we need to teach. So love is a doing word. So teach them service and sacrifice. Put yourself in another person's shoes and offer assistance. Okay. So we're not doing dishes because it's a work. We're doing dishes because it's a representation of our love for each other. We love each other, we care for each other, and doing dishes is a sign of that. So it's not like a chore and, oh my gosh, I have to do this. It's a sign of love. My daughter had an activity where she decided to take inventory. She wrote a list of the things that she observes that I do. And, she didn't tell me this until the end of the week. And she said, all week long, I've watched what you do, Mum. I made a list of all the things you do for our family. And you do a lot of service. And I'm like, oh, great. And she just told me all the things that she's seen me do. Sometimes they are not observant enough. And so we pointed out, we're like, look at your daddy. He works so hard. He did this and this and this. And look, he's out there on Saturdays, mowing the lawns. He's this. Oh, aren't we lucky? Aren't we so blessed? Isn't this wonderful? Yeah. So my dad does that very well with my mum. He's like, look at your mum. She can cook these things. She's amazing. We go to restaurants and she'll come home and she'll duplicate that dish, easy peasy. So he'll say things like that, and it helps us see. He'll point out things. My mum will point out things that my dad does. And she's like, okay, well, it's his birthday, show your gratitude, show you, whatever. Wow. Okay, my kids, one of their church leaders had a birthday, and they put together a card and stuff. It's like, you're not entitled. You're not this, selfish person. You just take. You look at people and how much they sacrifice for you, and you offer service. So anyways, they got together and they wrote a card, and that lady was, touched. The only kids that kind of, realized and recognized, and appreciated her. So show gratitude with gifts and words of kindness and appreciation. Articulate specific feelings in spoken and written form. My dad loves written letters from us, and he says it to us. He'll say how much he appreciates us, and then it kind of teaches us to reciprocate that. So, the best gifts that we give him are cards and letters and poems. Okay, so spending quality and quantity time together, right? That's a given. Know that. Be conscientious and polite. Be aware of others and your role in the world, and learn greetings and respectful salutations. I am shocked. I'm shocked by the amount of kids who don't know how to greet. Okay, I teach kids, at church, and I teach kids at my house every day, and I'm shocked. The amount of kids who don't say hello intentionally, look at you in the eyes, greet. Yeah. So, teach kids to be aware. I had, in our church, so there's missionaries, right? And a new set of missionaries came to our church. And then one of the sister missionaries came up to me later on. And she says, you know what? Your girls were the first to welcome us. They not only greeted us, they hugged us and asked questions, right? And I was like, I am glad to hear that. And they learned to be polite and conscientious of the people around them, right? So one of my friends, she's got boys, and she's like, Jade, I'm so embarrassed. My kid's so rude, so rude, so rude. And I was like, oh, don't worry. One day a girl will slap them and just say, hey, say hello, say proper, be polite, right? So teach them, right? Teach them now, right? So she's like, oh yeah, okay. So it's not like sometimes you think they're gonna know, be very specific in your teachings. So honey, when we go there, remember to say hello. So I remember my kids were younger, and I said, when my mommy's friends come, you know, if you're around, right, make sure you come down and say hello. And then when you say hello, this is what you do, right? Hi, my name is Madison. How are you? Right. And then we practiced with each other, and they giggled and giggled and giggled. But I remember they were very little when we tried that. And so when they hear guests, and if they, you know, if they come down for some reason, they make sure that they greet people. Okay. So just little things like that, but being conscientious of other people around you, right, teaches you to love and be of good service. And touch, physical touch, massages, hugs, hold hands, right? That's so important for everyone, including boys and men, right? And then praying for
I was about
others.
to say especially boys, but that's not necessarily true. I mean, for everyone. But I mean, when my husband and I got married, he never had even said the words "I love you" to his parents.
Mhm.
It's just not something they said back and forth to each other. And like hugs from his dad were like not a thing.
Mhm.
And it was very interesting watching the dynamic change, because I hug everyone and I would tell them I love them, and hearing his dad in his very manly way be like, yeah, I love you guys too, kind of thing. It was just so great. I don't think enough young men hear the words "I love you" enough, or get those hugs. And you know, and I know it's like, oh, I'm grown up now, don't touch me, don't hug me, but I still have to kind of force my he's 21 now, but
Yeah.
force
And if he
myself.
knows that's okay, and he's not
Yeah.
50 if he goes to mom and he gets a hug.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I'm like, sometimes when he gets up in the morning and he comes down in the kitchen, I'm like, nope, you can't go in the refrigerator until you give me a hug first.
Yeah.
So,
That's so good. Yeah. Yeah. Hugs and holding hands, that's okay. Right. It's just, it kind of passes that energy of love around to each other. Yeah. So anyways, imagine if we just work on this a little bit at a time, guys. And then, you know, our boys and men, they learn to love, you know, just like Jesus, right? So, you know, teach them to be kind and forgiving and seeing the good in others. Yeah. One of the guys that I've met, little young man, he's constantly finding fault in his brothers and others, and he's like laughing, ha ha ha, teasing. And, you know, that's from society. Putting people down doesn't make him look better, you know, and, you know, pointing out that's not kind. Yeah. So kind of like, can we see the good in people? I think they're trying hard. You know, they're going to change. They're going to get better. Just point out the good and never mind the bad. God's got them. He's going to remind them what to do to be different, to change. But our job is not to point out those wrongs. Our job is to love. Yeah. Okay. So there's so much more, but you know, once you get onto this bandwagon and you pray about it, God will teach you all of those things, right? So I thought this is a cute picture. It's like freedom, like free the boys, free the men, allow them to be themselves, right? And just be free to be you. We subconsciously manipulate because we're fearful, right? And you know, God can really, you know, help them rise and just be amazing. So I see kids like that, and you know, I can visualize that in them. How amazing. Like I teach kids in the morning, I just remind them that they're going to be amazing leaders one day. They're so special, right? They're going to serve missions and whatnot and be great dads. I'm just going to talk and expect it as if it's going to happen. You become a dad, you can do this and this, right? Help them see that they can do that, right? So for people who are watching this recording, you know, if you feel like, hey, I need kind of help get started in this direction, we have a directory of earth angels that can help you. You can book a time with me also. Okay. I'm not always available, and there's plenty of earth angels to book a time with. And if you want to learn more about this, please join our 7-week online course. We meet weekly for question and answers. We have a private Facebook group, and when you're done with the 7 weeks, you get lifetime access, or you can buy the lifetime access if you want to do that. And once you become a practitioner, you can, you know, help others as well. Alrighty, so join there. If you don't have a doTERRA wholesale account, and by the way, there's plenty of oils to help with the healing and stuff. You know, you can get one, $35, or you can get a free membership if you buy over 150. Okay, and you get points this month. You get 50 points. So next month, you order 100 PV and then have 50 points to spend. That's awesome. Alrighty, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow me on all the socials. I'm going to stop the recording now, and we'll have them chit chat.